Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop. Today is February 15th, and this is my weekly shop update. So I am back from my trip to Texas. It was quite a time, that's for sure. So I'm definitely missing it a little bit, and not just because of the nice change of weather compared to what we have here in Minnesota. So I got back and I was greeted to like a foot of fresh snow, and then like 2 days later we got like another like 6 inches or so, and I think it snowed again yesterday. Got like 2 inches or something, but the weather is not really what I'm missing. So every morning we had tacos for breakfast, and I don't mean like breakfast tacos with like eggs and stuff in them. I mean like actual tacos, and I'm missing that a lot. I had probably the best tacos I've ever had in my life every day. April brought tacos in for us every single day, and it was amazing. It was a great way to start the day with like a real taco or a few tacos, and he worked with a nice full belly, and we're just feeling super good and super motivating and all that. So I'll fill you in about the trip and the sawmill build in a little bit here. I got a little bit of I guess my experience and stuff for that. Before we jump into other things that are going on in the shop this week, since I've been trying to catch up from being gone for a week, it's been it's a lot to catch up with when you don't like do anything except build a sawmill for a week. So anyway, real quick on the tool cabinet, I'll have a nice little woodworking montage for you next week. But this week I finished up installing this little what do we call it? It's like a shelf thing. So this is where the secondary plane till is going to go. So numbers like 3 through 5 are going to go up here on a plane till, and that's going to give a spot for the number 8 and number 6 over there. And this is going to get some cubby hole dividers. So once I get those cubby hole dividers in there, I'll have a nice little video of this whole thing coming together, which is yeah, it's going to look pretty good. But it's just nice to start seeing this thing actually looking like something where you can put things. So the little cubby holes will give me some more space for additional planes like this, and also have a little tray for card scrapers since I don't have a good place to store those right now. But yeah, a lot of cool joinery in here. It's really coming along. So back here in this corner of the shop is where I've been spending the few hours of shop time I've had this week. I have been working on the Bridgeport cleanup, which is going surprisingly well. I haven't had any terrible, ridiculous things happen yet. So I went through and I started by cleaning up all of the tooling and the setup kit and the parallel kit. Those are all cleaned up now, so they're not all gross and full of schmoo and stuff. And the other thing I did was I cleaned up the vise and gave it this sweet, subtle red paint job. So this vise is a lot cleaner than it used to be. It had so much gunk and just junk all over it. It was kind of gross to clean, but now that it's all cleaned up, it's looking quite a lot better, which is it's nice. I like it. I like the red too. It's hot. So over on the machine, I'm basically just giving it, I guess, a detailing. I guess would be the best way to think about it. I'm just kind of going through, removing what I can, and cleaning things off the machine if I can. It just makes it a lot easier if I can take it to like the laundry sink and scrub whatever part needs some scrubbing. Wipe down all of the surfaces so you can touch it, and it's not all, your hands aren't dirty. Isn't that cool? I can touch it now, and my hands aren't dirty. At least up here. So I started at the very top, so I was able to just rotate the head so I could get at the top of the housing as well as the motor itself. That thing was pretty dirty up there, so it's all cleaned up, and I've kind of made my way down through here, and I'm working on the quill area at the moment. So I have a few parts to still pull off of here. I need to get a screw. So this thing here, the quill stop, is pinned up here with a little like rod thing in here. And to extract that rod, there is a little threaded piece on the end of that rod where you thread a screw into, and you just yank the thing out. Now that screw is number 440, which is absolutely tiny, and I don't have one, so I gotta go buy one. That's where I'm at right now. But just to give you an idea, it's the same size screw that is used to secure a router bearing on top of a router. That's I'm pretty sure it's a 440. So I need one to go in there and yank that pin out so I can pull this whole assembly out and clean behind it. But that's not a huge deal. It's just kind of where I'm at with that right now. This whole side here I think looks pretty good. This has all been cleaned up, so I took off both of these things. This is the little clutch drum cover thing, which turns on and turns off the power down feed. And this is the selector that selects how fast the thing comes down. So both these come off. I cleaned everything up, put them back on, and now it's all, look at that. You can touch it, it's all clean, and it looks quite a lot better than it used to, that's for sure. So the Bridgeport cleanup is probably going to be, I think, 3 videos. So the first one's going to cover basically what I've done so far, all of the tooling and accessory cleanup, as well as cleaning up the head. And then for the second part, I'll go over cleaning up the base, the table, and all that. And then part 3 will be power feeds and I guess tune-up and things like that. So this is going to be kind of an ongoing thing for the next few weeks for me, as I have time to kind of stand over here and degrease things. But I did have that question of if I'm going to do a full rebuild or not on some things. So the head I'm not touching, I'm just cleaning the outside. As far as I can tell, everything's working just fine. There's no reason for me to strip this thing down, replace spindle bearings or anything like that. For the table, I originally wasn't going to pull the table or anything like that, but I think I will. It's going to be a lot easier for me to clean everything around there if I pull the table and the saddle off, and I think it'll be a lot more interesting for everyone to see what's going on inside the table, which allows this thing to move in all directions, which, I don't know, should be interesting to see anyways. And kind of the fun thing, I don't know if it's fun, but the thing you kind of have to worry about when you start like tearing into things is you start finding things that you may have not otherwise noticed or cared about, but now that you're in there and you see these things, you're like, oh, maybe I should change this or replace that, and it becomes like this rabbit hole thing of just suddenly you have a whole new machine. So that's also what I'm trying to resist in the back of my mind. So that's what's going on in my shop this week. Let's take a look at some viewer projects. First this week is a sliding lid box by Adam. Adam is 16 years old and he made this box for his sister's 20th birthday. It's made from plum wood, hornbeam, walnut, and elm that he milled with his father. Next this week is a bassinet by Andy. The bassinet is made from figured maple, and this was the first time that Andy had ever done Morrison tenons, and they just happened to be angled Morrison tenons. The side panels are made from 1/4 inch thick figured maple veneer glued to both sides of 1/4 inch MDF. Andy has a post over on Lumberjacks that you can check out. He goes into a lot of detail on the finishing process to get the figure and the maple to really pop, and overall a lot more information on the build. And I'll leave you a link to that down in the description. Next is a cherry dining table by Paul. The top is made from 3 slabs of southern black cherry, and the benches are from single slabs. All the wood came from the same tree that was removed in his neighborhood in January 2017. And Paul sliced up the log with his chainsaw mill. And you can find more of Paul's work over on Instagram. Last this week is a jewelry box by Charlie. It's made from 1 block of quilted big leaf maple, and Charlie's calling it a hybrid bandsaw box because it doesn't quite fit the strict definition and because he thought it would make a catchy title. Charlie has a video over on his YouTube channel that shows the entire process, so definitely check that out. So I do want to share a little bit about my experience last week building that sawmill. I'm not going to have a separate video about that. April's going to do 4 videos about the build, and anything I do would probably be just duplicative of what she's doing already. And I brought the camera with me with the intention of filming something when I was there, and I think I filmed like 2 or 3 things the whole time I was there. It just wasn't something on my mind. I was too busy trying to make sure that the project was still heading in the right direction, things were getting done, and that I was staying busy actually making things and not so much worrying about filming things for my own video that's who knows what it's going to be, because I wasn't sure what I was going to do for video. So that's about it. So if you weren't following along with the build on social media last week, so we started on Sunday, and on Friday, right before Johnny and I had to go to the airport, or Uber was on the way over, we were able to make a test cut with the mill. Now, the whole saw wasn't totally finished at this point. There are a few small things that April still needs to finish up. So the top area of the lift mechanism needs to be finished. The roller chain and the bearings up there need to be mounted and installed. And then the motor for the lift also has to be installed. The mount for the motor is already made, just needs to get bolted on there and hooked up with the linkage chain. The blade guards are already fabricated and ready to go on. We just didn't have time to take the wheels off after tracking the blade and then getting those guards reinstalled. So we tied it off with a rope and we pulled it through the cut from, I think, probably like 20, 30 feet away, maybe even further than that, which worked out pretty well for just a test cut. And yeah, I volunteered to hit the start button on the mill and get it spinning up. We just pulled it through. We made a couple of test cuts. We made a facing cut, and then we made a second cut to make an actual slab, and that'll be in April's video as well. So I do have some takeaways to share. First of all, it was just really incredible to be working with other really passionate and motivated people. April, Johnny, and JD were all really great to work with, and especially it was really cool to work with JD, who does fabrication every single day. So being able to work side by side with him and see the things that he does to make things come together really quickly and really efficiently was really beneficial for me especially. I learned a lot about different welding processes. The only thing I've ever done before last week was stick welding, and JD taught me a lot about MIG welding and how it compares to stick welding, because I'm just a lot more familiar with that process. It was really weird using a gun for welding. It was like almost too easy. And I had to get a hang of how fast to travel with it and the motion and all that. But I have to say it's almost too easy. Like, I can see, like, for quick things like putting a few things here and there together, it seems fine, but I did really miss the stick welding process. I don't know, I just find it more fun than sitting there with a gun and shooting welds wherever. But that's just me, I guess. So as far as the overall build process went, when I shot the shop update while I was there, we were a couple of days in, we had the bed done, we had the carriage done, things are going super smoothly. But after that, things kind of slowed down a little bit. We had a few little hiccups here and there. So I guess the progress or the speed we're moving at definitely slowed down a bit. I think we ended up being about maybe a day and a half behind where we had anticipated being at the start of the week. A lot of that just came down to the fact that the whole wheel and bearing assembly was different than what I had anticipated based off of the saw that I built. So a lot of the little details here and there were just part of getting those to interface with the existing structure as we had kind of planned originally. But still, I think in, what was it, like 6 days, we got the thing running. I think that's we're pretty happy with the fact that we got that much done in that amount of time, and we still got one slab made, which is cool. So now my set of printed plans have these nice fingerprints and battle marks all over them. So it's just cool to, I guess, go from this thing that I spent so much time on to like actually proving that nothing in here is so wrong that you can't actually build an actual sawmill with these. So just on a personal level, proving that these are valid was probably the most exciting part of the entire trip. So look forward to April's videos. I think it sounds like she's gonna have the first one out not this weekend, but the following weekend or something like that. So if you're not already subscribed to her channel, definitely do so. I will leave you a link to that. I'll leave you links to everyone else's channels like I did last week. Check them all out. Everyone is super awesome. And lastly, next week I'll be at Workbench Con in Atlanta, so if you're heading to that show, I will see you there. Should be fun, I think. I've never been. We'll see. So I think that's about all I have for this week. Thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about anything I talked about today or anything here in my shop, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.